for me, yeah.
Day is this? I mean,
The 18th.
18th. This
It's a Monday.
does not work. 11, 18, 19. What's it? Moon's Day. Okay. Alright, 7 o'clock.
Let's start. Why not? Oh, wait. Oh, are we live now? Okay. Never mind that. I didn't tell anybody here secrets that I won't tell you.
Just so you know, I had pushed the button, but it didn't necessarily do what it was supposed to do. So I don't know how much of that we got.
Are we broadcasting?
Yeah, but I'm not up on YouTube or anything yet.
Okay. That's odd. Anything else odd going on in anyone's life?
Mercury retrograde.
A lot of electronics difficulty.
Really? Okay. That's not odd.
That's true.
That's somewhat sort of expected in Mercury retrograde. No confirmation that we're live?
I already told you that we are live. I said I didn't have the YouTube up, and it's not moving quickly. I'm just like taking minutes here in between moves. So
Okay.
when we're up and ready, I'll let you know.
Alright. Well, I'm going to stall for a little while because I'd kind of like to know that we're really going and that we have people watching. So,
Well, there's people watching. I already told you that we're live, and it looks like the YouTube is slow. So I'm going to be asking the audience, how is the sound and broadcast?
okay.
Because it looks weird to me. Everything is in slow motion.
And we've plugged into Hardline. That's all. Okay. Live from Mount Shasta.
Okay, you're good. Just go.
We are the Toltec Discussions with Golden Eagle. I'm wearing red today though, not gold. I only have like one gold shirt that I sometimes wear. The other gold shirt is inappropriate. Too formal. We're talking about this process of pretending to be human. Not pretending. I mean, we kind of are. We're living inside these human primates. Everyone know why it was chosen, primates were chosen for our essences to inhabit here on this planet as opposed to any other creature?
Compatibility.
Yeah, partially. That's one ding.
Primates use tools, thumbs.
Yes, ding, ding, ding. Opposable thumbs. We can grab and manipulate our environment with these. They tried it with crab claws, originally. It just didn't have the same effect. And then once they came on land, there's an upper limit in size to how big an exoskeleton creature can be and still support its own weight and be able to move and interact. Right? All these sci-fi movies about 50-foot tall crabs eating Manhattan, I mean, I could only wish that 50-foot tall crabs would eat Manhattan. But it's physiological impossible to have a 50-foot crab walking on land. It can't support its own weight. So we needed to ditch the exoskeleton thing. Back then it wasn't called an exoskeleton yet, right? You know why? Because we hadn't invented internal skeletons yet. Exoskeleton is a term that we, from our notochord internal skeleton point of view, just use to describe other creatures. Right? We have an internal skeleton, they have an exoskeleton. But us internal skeleton types, we're cool. But evolutionarily, the exoskeleton came first. But back then they weren't called exoskeletons, like I said. They were called bendable shells. That was the terminology. Because the shell, they're just like a shell, like a clam, but all a clam could do was move around in the water with its little jets, right? So if you want to walk and do something else, you had to have a shell that bends, and that's what became known as exoskeletons much later.
I always like the BC cartoons and the little clams.
Oh yeah, walking around with their little feet. You know, they have a foot, and man, the big ones can dig fast. They can go down like 2 feet in seconds in the sand. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, as some of you may know, and we are famous up there for having the world's largest clams.
Oh, really?
That are edible. There's giant clams in the South Pacific and stuff that could swallow a whole person if you were foolish enough to put your foot in one. But the gooey duck clams, everybody's been to the restaurant and there's a clam like this, and when you stretch it out, the little part that you eat, the neck that they turn into a whatever, is like this big, right? Gooey ducks, the shells are like this.
Wow.
Wow.
And the neck part doesn't even fit in the shell. It's as long as your arm.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
Puget Sound and north into Canada, around Vancouver Island. Oh, some neighbors of ours would have boats. We'd go out there and we would go to these beaches you couldn't drive to. Oh, we'd come home with clams. Oh.
And they're not tough?
No.
Being that big?
No. Yum, yum, yum. Grilled. You cook them up on a grill with a little butter. Of course, back then I probably used garlic, which I wouldn't do now. But yeah, grilled, salt and pepper, melted butter. You grill them. It's sort of like grilled calamari.
That sounds good.
But they never went any further evolutionarily because no bendable shells, no opposable thumbs. That's why we are primates, or living inside primates.
So what's an example of a bendable shell?
Crabs, lobsters, crayfish. What was that?
That might have been smoky meat in the kittens at the back.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, crayfish. You know how the tail bends, lobsters.
Right. Okay.
All the the crab families. Then, of course, the arthropods also became insects. So insects have bendable shells, exoskeletons, much smaller. Well, some of them people eat. I wasn't impressed when I tried fried grasshoppers.
Oh, funny grandson.
They serve them in some Mexican restaurants. Actually, I don't know if it was Mexican or some other Central American restaurant. I don't know, Nicaraguan or something. Anyway, I tried them because, I'll try almost anything. And they were like, I'd eat them to not starve to death. They're in that category. I would never seek them out. But that's just me. Hey, there's people who love them. So anyway, we're talking about this experience of being human. And I've talked about some of the evolutionary concepts. Talked about that we're these eternal spiritual essences coming down here, inhabiting this unique environment. The evolutionary current to evolve our essence and to evolve the primates to create better, stronger interfaces. We've talked about all that. You've heard me before, those of you who've heard me before. I can't imagine you having heard me before more than a couple of times and not heard me say, time is of the essence. It's time, game on, right? The natural consequence is, oh yeah, it's real important, game on. Oh, say, what time is my sitcom on? I gotta get home and pick up some beer on the way and go watch my sitcom. So, you know, it's game really on if you're picking up beer to watch your sitcom. Oh, I thought this was in the other room. So today, we're going to be talking a little bit about what it means when I say game on. And by game on, I mean not a game, it's very serious. And I don't think most people realize the implications of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So if you're watching this live or tape delay and you're one of my formal students and you have committed to being a formal student in the Toltec lineage, then it's really important for you to understand that the earth and humanity are at a crossroads. This is a time of great change that potentially will involve a great deal of upheaval. If you watched my series earlier this year on the Tree of Life, that series was called In Quest of Self. If you're looking for the playlists on my YouTube channel. You heard me discuss the path of Pe on the Tree of Life, which corresponds to?
Is that the tower?
Yes, ding ding ding. The Tower card. Which means as you try to transform into something higher, anything that's of a lower vibration needs to get left behind. And that usually, or at least very, very frequently, will manifest as a complete disruption and dissolution of your previous life. You've heard me joke about losing houses and losing spouses and losing careers and moving 85 times in a very short period of time. That's the kind of stuff that happens. Because if you've committed to going forward, the other side of that coin is you're committed to leaving behind anything that won't help you go forward. And you can't swim across the ocean and keep one foot on shore. So that's what I encourage you all to remember in this incarnational game of life. So the question becomes, what does this time of upheaval for the earth look like? And I'm going to talk about some of the details a little bit later. But what I want to talk about first are the three key time frames involved. The initial time frame actually started a good 25 years ago. Where's my book? It's in here, and I probably didn't mark that page, but according to the Hopi, and you've heard me mention perhaps that I like the Hopi prophecies among the best because they're less cryptic. They just flat out tell you what's going to happen. If you read the Book of Revelations, and I may get to the Book of Revelations tonight, and if not, we probably won't do much with the Book of Revelations other than I will tell you to go read it. The Hopi just come right out and tell you, here's what's going down, here's what you have to do. And so I guess that's why I like it. But the first time frame, according to them, started roughly the mid-1990s. That's what they call the time of purification, where the earth is purified in those cleansing radiations. Some of you have been following the work that Ori is doing with the American Book of the Dead, and that's all about the cleansing radiations. And so that's what we're at. We're at the time of purification. The earth itself is, in a way, going through the tower card. And for people who are rigidly and dogmatically clinging to the status quo and wanting everything to get back just the way it was back in the 1980s, with the stock market doing this and the real estate prices doing that, and gang, that was artificial. And you saw what happened in the early 2000s when the house of cards got bumped and came crashing down, right? It wasn't real, right? It was an unreal layer on top of an unreal layer on top of an unreal matrix. So that's how unreal it was. Thrice unreal. So this period of time, the first phase, you can think of it as your preparation phase, runs from then up until the really wacky stuff starts happening. That might be a week from now. It could be a month from now, or a few years from now. I'm guessing it's more like a few years, but I'm not prophesying and claiming any special knowledge. I'm just interpreting what I see. It's probably more like a few years. And in that time, this is your time to prepare. What happens when the power grid goes down and doesn't come back? These are the theoretical thought questions you all need to be asking yourselves. What happens when FedEx and UPS stop running and you can't get your overnight deliveries from Amazon Prime anymore? You can't get online to order from Amazon Prime. And we all know they don't answer the phone, and that's kind of irrelevant because the phone system grid just went down too. All right?
Electricity for it.
So this is, in terms of the more extreme end of preparations, is, are you prepared for that? Do you know how to make fire? Do you know how to hunt food? Do you know how to grow food in a garden? Do you know how to make medicines? Because if FedEx stops running and all the other trucks stop running and bridges fall down and can't be repaired, that one of the key things is prescription medications. Local supplies will run out and there won't be any more. At least not for a long time and very irregularly. Do you know anything about home health care? You smash your finger, can you fix it? All the basics, colds, flu, minor injuries, even fairly major ones, you might have to learn how to deal with. One or more systems of home health care. Things like herbal medicine, homeopathy, basic first aid. Every single person on the planet needs to know basic first aid. You don't know when something's going to go smash. I didn't get up that day a few weeks ago and planned, oh, I better get my first aid kit and take it with me out to where I'm working because I'm going to smash my finger at 3 in the afternoon. That wasn't on the plan. It wasn't on the schedule. I looked. I came back. I looked at my Google account. No, there was no smashed finger and interrupt your work on my schedule that day. The power grid going down isn't on the schedule. cities crumbling, and the zombie apocalypse roaming the earth is not on anybody's schedule right now. And it's going to look a lot closer to those old movies than we realize when dumbed down people who have too much fluoride in their water and not enough nutrients in their brain,
All the chlorine in the water.
chlorine and all the what's that really nasty breakdown chemical? It's a secondary breakdown product of chlorine. Yeah. Anyway, it's in my book. I did all the research. It's in my book. Go read my book. Heal Your Life, Heal the World. You can buy it at drcagesays.org. That has links over to one of those big booksellers.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, those two. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's a good primer on how to get ready for the zombie apocalypse. And it's a good primer on how to live holistically. Because the key about the Hopi prophecies, read this one. Frank Waters' Book of Hopi. Or Book of the Hopi. Not the Book of Hopi.
That's I got all the traditional prophecies from within. I also had already recommended the Hopi Survival Kit by Thomas E. Mayle, because a lot of the elders are dying out and no one's coming up in some of these traditions. And so he was a journalist that was asked to come in and record the last of the Hopi legends and
What was the
prophecies.
name of it again, Bonnie?
The Hopi Survival Kit.
So, in this time frame, which we don't know how long it is, this is your time to prepare. Do you have food stores? Do you have first aid stores? Do you have really important things like toilet paper stores? Do you have stores and a network of like-minded people that you can work with and trust, who got your back and you got theirs? You know, you don't have to grow everything yourself. Maybe you're good at tomatoes, but ironically, you're allergic to tomatoes, so you trade them for something else that somebody else grows. You know, get your network going. At the more extreme end, it could be a nuclear holocaust. You could get crazy people with their fingers on buttons on both sides of the ocean, all over the world, who all have little man syndrome, and they're all going to launch their missiles at each other. No symbolism there, he said, tongue in cheek. And we could have a nuclear holocaust. We could just have the earth changes that come from an earth going through its own evolution. Earth being a living organism. And faults could open up, rift valleys. The Mississippi River Valley on the North American continent is what's right now known as a failed rift fault. A rift is where continents break apart. When North America and South America had their breakup with Europe and Africa, I mean, you know, you hang out together for a few billion years, and it's like, okay, I've had enough of you, it's time to separate and go our own ways, right? Even continents break up, or as I call them, floating dirt islands, big floating dirt islands. They broke up. So the Atlantic Ocean is basically a rift valley. Big one. And the Mississippi River, you could see the whole continent open up. And most of the Mississippi River Valley, all the way up, is at a relatively low elevation. I don't know what you get up to Minnesota, where the source of the Mississippi River is. I don't know what the elevation is up there, but it's not more than, I know it's under 1,000 feet. It's It's like nothing. Of course, I'm biased. I live here at 3,500 feet at the base of a 14,000 foot mountain. So for me, anything under 1,000 is like, you're a flatlander. Is it not true? You live in Santa Cruz and you're a flatlander.
Mhm.
You finally get your act together, you move to Mount Shasta, you're no longer a flatlander, you're a mountain girl.
That's what I did.
So this is the time to get ready. Do you know how to make clothes or shoes? Do you know how to make toilet paper from raw materials? You might want to think about these things. When Walmart runs out, there's no more deliveries of toilet paper coming in, things could get serious. It could happen.
Gonna hijack a toilet paper truck.
Except there's no more toilet paper trucks, or they might have been, but there's no more gas for them. And we never got off our keister to make our free energy levitating hovercraft, so we're hosed. And then you're going to look back at that book and say, darn it, he was right. It was right there in the book. We could have had our Jetson cars by now. We could. Then we get to phase 2. So we had our preparation phase, do everything you can to get ready. And phase 2 is a phase that the technical term is the zombie apocalypse. This is when the brown smelly stuff hits the fan. And all these things that we're thinking about and considering now as probabilities or possibilities, just like quantum mechanics, right? The electron can go anywhere, but then once we get past a certain point and the first domino is flicked, then you're there. You're in the zombie apocalypse. The waveform collapses into this one reality. And then you've got cannibalism in the streets, if you have streets. Cities falling into the ocean. I wonder if there's a way of giving them a list of the preferred cities to have fall into the ocean. I'll have to check on that.
We can start with the ones that are at sea level.
Yeah, well, those are the easiest, right? And there's a certain city on the East Coast, south of New York and north of Orlando, kind of halfway in between, kind of on a little peninsula, right across the bay from Virginia. Big white building with a big white dome on it. That would be a good city to have fall into the ocean.
Well, they already took out Venice.
That's not the one, though. We need to take the one on this side of the Atlantic Ocean with the domes. Because there's nothing useful there. Right? Well, anyway, that's when the brown smelly stuff has hit the fan. Your time to prepare is over. Partial continents will probably have fallen into the ocean. Big tsunamis, big volcanoes, possibly cometary impacts. Who knows? Maybe a nuclear holocaust. And no more Starbucks.
Oh
Oh,
God.
they're going down this week anyway, I heard.
Oh, this week already?
No.
They're going broke?
No, they got rid of Ethos Water, which was supposed to help all the people in the world that need water, and they signed up with Nestle. So they're being boycotted.
Good. I love it when karma works quickly on evil entities, evil dictators. So when the zombie apocalypse hits, that's when you have to put everything you know into use. Okay? This is where there's no more, where school's over. Okay? You're out in the real world, graduation has happened, sort of like in World War II, a lot of people don't realize, but the U.S. military academies, especially the oldest one, which is the Army Academy at West Point, New York, which I have actually been to. I didn't attend as a cadet. I mean, with my beard and long hair, could you see me as an Army cadet? No. A Viking warrior? Yeah. A Celtic warrior? Yeah. An Army cadet? No, I was there to watch a football game. I was dating a woman at the time who was a Boston College grad. And this was the year after Doug Flutie did his miracle in Miami and they almost won the national championship and stuff. So Boston College had, the year before, had been really good. And so we went to this game at West Point. I was up in Connecticut. We were visiting. I was visiting. And drove up to West Point. Beautiful part of the country. Absolutely gorgeous. Fall colors everywhere. Wonderful. Get to West Point, and that was a year that Army was really good, and all of BC's good players had graduated the year before. Mm-hmm. It wasn't pretty. It was a bloodbath. I think Army managed to keep the points under 50, and Boston College maybe got 10. It was like a 48-10
They got spanked.
pounding. Yeah, anyway. But I've been to West Point, and the academies are pretty much run like a 4-year college program. Freshman, sophomore, junior, then senior, then you graduate. They teach you all the basics like reading, writing, and then military history, and then how to kill people using only your thumbs, all the important things. And except in time of war. And then they're saying, okay, war starts in December. Okay, everybody's in the senior year, you graduate right now. And whatever you were gonna take, your spring semester got waived, you were handed a diploma, here's your bars as a second lieutenant, you're out in the Army, right? By the end of that year, anybody who just finished their third year, okay, you're out, here's your bars, get out there, you're now a commissioned officer. And then within another year, I think they knocked it down to a year and a half of training. You're out there. And no, they have your degree, but it's like, we don't have time for philosophizing over all these ancient battles. We got to know them right now. We got to win this one, or you can read this other stuff under. Here's the reading list. When the war's over, go read this. So they compress it and boom. So when the zombie apocalypse hits, that's what's going to happen. It's like, oh, I was going to do 5 more weekend seminars with Golden Eagle. No. Get out there, lead your peeps, get them to safety, and all that, right?
Right.
And in parallel with all of your survival work, you still have to do the rest of your work. And I don't mean your job flipping burgers, because the burger patty truck isn't coming anymore either. I mean your spiritual work, your true will work, your Toltec party work. Change the human consciousness to keep this zombie apocalypse as short as possible. That work. So, especially to my course students, but also to anybody else listening who's on a serious path. I know some people from Coyote School occasionally watch. I know some people from EJ's group occasionally watch. So you who are doing the higher work, you probably already know this, but this is a good reminder that you have to keep doing this work. And if you think what's been happening up till now is hard, oh, that's too difficult. I just can't possibly go this week. I can't possibly read that one more book. I can't. This is nothing. think the difference in life for the average American on December 6th, 1941 versus December 8th, 1941. And how fast our world can change. Because you all darn well better remember what happened on December 7th, 1941. Right? You know. Do you remember the legal? Pearl Harbor.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you were on the right track. You just needed to be brave and say it. Yeah, the Japanese attacked. They were provoked. We knew it was coming and we let it happen. That's another story for another day. The average American went from being peace and everything is wonderful except for the few places that hadn't fully recovered from the Depression yet. Like most of everything west of the Mississippi River. Which is partly why we created the war, was to end the Depression. But that's another story for another day. But anyway, you went from a peace, prosperity's coming, because FDR's been having his fireside chat every Sunday night to talk to America and tell you it's coming. And then the Pearl Harbor attack and you're in shock all day, and the next morning it's like, okay, we're at war, and the world just changed, and these color swatches for the new curtains in the fire, doesn't matter, right? Because game's on. Well, the zombie apocalypse probably isn't going to have one single moment, one single act, but it might. E.J. Gold, who is one of our colleagues that we highly respect, he's been saying it for years now. I don't think very many people take him seriously. My main benefactor, Coyote the Blind, he talks about it a lot less. But when you pin him out, said, yeah, there's going to probably be some bad things happen, and yeah, and after that, real estate will be cheap. So I'm going to get a nice new house when that happens. That's his approach. And my advice is, well, just make sure it's above a certain elevation. Because anything below a certain elevation might not be so valuable real estate anymore. Unless you plan on commuting to the surface in a submarine. Then it might be fine. So, you really need to read some of these prophecies. So, we've talked about the Hopi Survival Kit, the Book of the Hopi, and the Hopi work in a nutshell says, bad times are coming, but how bad, how fast they come, how long they last, and how fast we recover depends on the number of people right now that wake up and adopt simple, regional, holistic lifestyles, very much like the Tolteca-Yotl philosophy that I'm propounding. My book, Heal Your Life, Heal the World, is a more scientific presentation of the Tolteca-Yotl philosophy. My next book is going to be, well, maybe not the next book, but the next big book on the Tolteca-Yotl philosophy is not going to be scientific. It's going to be very organic and very Toltecish. This one I recommended last week, The Millennium Book of Prophecy by John Hogue. There you go. This one we'll get to later. This is called, oh yes, the Holy Bible. Not the Unholy Bible. That's a different one. So, you're still going to be responsible for doing your work because you committed to being on the Toltec path, which means you're committed to helping humanity raise its consciousness. And we can, if we get enough work happening, we can actually short circuit a lot of this. And At the very least, what we're going to do is we're going to preserve the knowledge so that after the zombie apocalypse, anybody still operating on this physical plane at this frequency is going to have it available. And some of us may not be here on this physical plane. We may shift up to a higher frequency plane, as is shown in the movie The Celestine Prophecy, which is one of my recommended work movies. That we did a movie night on, what, a year ago or more? Something like that. So I probably won't be doing another official movie night on The Celestine Prophecy. But if you haven't seen it, A, shame on you. B, go watch it. It's very Toltec, even though it's set in Peru, which was not necessarily a Toltec stronghold. And C, ignore the mediocre acting, because the plot is actually quite good and the material is even better. Right? The book was written somewhere in the mid-90s, right about the time the Hopis said the time of purification was to begin. The movie somewhere in the early 2000s, so the movie is probably 15 years old or so, and it's actually one of the times where I recommend the movie over the book. It's a little more concise and a little less rambling, and I like the movie because it teaches some good lessons, so go watch it. Then we get into the third era, which is the post-craziness era. Post-craziness era. And this is where things will gradually settle down. Those who survive the zombie apocalypse will either have ascended to a higher frequency, and these instructions aren't for you or us, or I don't know when this will happen. It may not happen in one fell swoop where those who are leaving this plane all leave the same moment. It might. There's a lot of different prophecies from a lot of different writers who talk about a lot of different versions of what that whole process might look like. I originally thought I was going to go through a whole bunch of those, and I started getting lined to do that, and then in my meditations I told no, just get to the point, and then we have to move on. In this post-craziness era, there may be people who could have moved up to a higher frequency world and choose to remain behind in the crazy fallout world to help. At the very least, it is the responsibility of the Toltecs to leave behind the information where somebody can come walking along through the jungle and find the door and scrape the vines and the dirt off and, oh, press here. And open the library and go start here, read book 1. Now go do this. And the instructions can be passed on into the next phase. And there might need to be a few live teachers here in this plane. Like I said, some who could have gone on, they really graduated from Academy Earth, but chose to accept an assignment here in the craziness. There could be people who are somewhere on their path of enlightenment, but maybe they weren't quite ready, but they have a piece of the puzzle, and hopefully they all get the memo that they need to all work together. So our job is to leave that in writings, in artworks, in documents in the higher planes that can be found by later generations, to develop that ability to go direct and say, oh my, wow, those prophets were right. Why do we keep shooting the messenger? All almost every one of these books of prophecy are full of let's kill the prophet because he's making me uncomfortable stories. The Bible's like that. The Old Testament, the New Testament. Let's kill the prophet. Anyone ever heard of the poet Robert Frost?
Mm-hmm.
Very famous for writing poetry about small town life in New England, right? He wrote something like 7, 8, 9 books of poetry, and every single poem was about small town life in New England. Except one. This is so curious to me. And he didn't leave any writings that I know that could explain why there's this one poem that's not set in New England. The poem is entitled The Bearer of Evil Tidings. And it's set in the Himalayas. The bearer of evil tidings, when he was halfway there, remembered that evil tidings were a dangerous thing to bear. So when he came to the parting where one road led to the throne, and the other led off to the mountains, and into the wild unknown, he took the road to the mountains. And then it goes on, he describes how this guy figures, I know, the king's going to kill me because he's going to be upset that his army just lost and the enemy army is going to come batter down his gates and kill him. So he's going to take me out. So I'm going out here and I'm going to be as far away from that land as I can. So he goes off into the mountains and he comes into a valley where there's this unknown race of people living. Nobody knew, they weren't on any map, something like that. And he meets a girl, of course, there's going to be a romance. And she teaches him that the people came there because there was a Chinese princess and her caravan were en route for the princess to marry a Persian prince. And they're in the mountains and they happen to find out that the princess is pregnant. Oops. And of course it's, she was pure and chaste, and no human did this, therefore it must be divine, but still this is going to be very hard to explain. So we can't go back, we'll get killed. We can't go forward, we'll get killed. So we'll just stay right here. So they had these huge evil tidings, and they said, we'll just stay right here. We won't go forward, we won't go backward. So the bearer of evil tidings meets up with the group of people who were descended from bearers of evil tidings, and they all get along happily ever after. And as for the evil tidings of Belshazzar's overthrow, why hurry to tell Belshazzar what soon enough he will know? It's the last stanza of the poem. Why? The Himalayas, in 9 books of poems about New England small town life in the 1800s or early 1900s.
There must be some truth to it.
Well, what Coyote the Blind was talking about, he says that there's the Aztec evil goddess, that they gave all the hearts to in the Himalayas. One of it's there, I remember.
Well,
They said.
this doesn't get anything into there. It's just like, okay, it was an average war, and the average warrior was selected. Okay, go tell Belshazzar so he can get on his horse and get away. And this guy's running back to tell Belshazzar, and it's like he doesn't really go into this much detail in the poem, but it's like he can say, okay, every other person who's gone to him with bad news has been killed. I'm going over here. There's nothing in that life back there that I care to stay there. So I've always been curious about that. And I've even read writings about why. And nobody has an answer. Robert Frost took that answer with him.
Mm.
But yeah, I think he might have been tapping into something higher. That's entirely possible. So, yeah, there's some lessons to be learned there. Is especially when we're doing this kind of work, right? We're bearing the truth. This is the truth about humanity's history. This is the truth about our potential. This is the truth about you're supposed to be doing your true will. This is the truth about humanity is supposed to be working together, and stop it on the arguing and the racism and the fill in the blank negativism. It's the last battle. Armageddon is here, gang. It's here. And the way we're going to win this is not, much to my disappointment, by picking up a sword and putting heads on pikes. That's old Aeon. No, it's collective consciousness working together, changing the paradigm, because no matter how different the various groups on this planet are on superficial appearances, we have far more in common than we have differences. That's part of the Toltec message. And so what the Toltecs have for this humanity experience is concerned is we have the formula. The formula for transcendence, the formula for liberation out of this version of the hologram. We have the means to change the hologram. It simply requires a certain number of people to be working together, and that is the one thing the power brokers don't want, is they don't want people working together. And the formula is hidden in plain sight. It's freely available to anyone who wants it, but most people will never see it, even though it's right in front of their face. They don't recognize it if they see it, because the formula is disguised as work. You have to work. You work on yourself, you work with your friends, you work on the world, and then you do it some more. Days of rest are over, my friends. Start to work, and start right now. So you've got your preparation phase, which you're in. It's your chance to build resources and connections and store knowledge. And then there's going to be some form of a zombie apocalypse. And then at the end of which, or during which, there can be, or might even be at the beginning of which, a split in realities and timelines. And some of us may go to a higher frequency realm, and some of the world won't. It'll stay here and endure the fullness of the zombie apocalypse. And when all that calms down, you'll either be in a higher plane, doing work, building a more perfect world, or you'll be left down here with the few survivors, trying to recover from the ashes like the phoenix bird and build a better world. And in both cases, the Toltec formula is required. Did I mention that time is of the essence, and the time to work on this is right now? Did I mention now? somewhere. And I'm not joking. I mean, right now. You can wait until after the show's over and then get started. But yeah, today, every day, you should be doing something to prepare for the time when you no longer have the resources to prepare. Accumulate knowledge. Accumulate skills. Start building reserves of everything that you need and use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And do your higher work. If you're part of this Toltec group, here's what I expect. No more free weekends, no more weekend passes, like using the military analogy. It's like, oh, I put in my 5 days, I want a weekend pass. No. We work. I need you showing up. If you're on the West Coast, you need to come to my weekend or my quarterly shamanic weekends. If you're anywhere close to Mount Shasta, I would like you here as often as possible on these Monday night discussions. I'm exploring the possibility of having them over the winter months located in town, because this little road we could live on can be difficult to get down if you don't have four-wheel drive vehicles, or at least a high clearance vehicle. And no, your little sports car is not a high clearance vehicle.
I know.
Not that I've ever had to go pull you out of the ditch on your way over here for a Monday night broadcast before, but
Yep.
it's serious, guys. Gang, gals, all of the above. And humanity's running out of time. And part of this Humanity Experience series has been the cruciality of keeping the humanity and these biological machines on this planet, because we're evolved to fit this planet, and we're evolving these organisms to link more fully with our essential selves. And we've already had setbacks. We don't want to talk about that Atlantis thing again, and there were some before that. You know, the whole nuclear war in Asia thing. We don't need that again. Please, we don't really need another nuclear war. There's been some big mistakes doing similar work on other planets. We won't go into the whole World 742 incident again. You all probably remember that. And lesson learned, right? Who's online, and are there any questions?
Alright. Oops. Okay. We have Mohadib
Wadid,
and Maria Bellotti
Maria,
and Melanie Johnson
Melody,
and Dennis Brown.
Dennis,
Hang on. And Scott Hicks.
Scott. Yo.
So that's all I see. There was 6 supposedly watching, but I think that's me.
Okay.
One book that I would recommend that I think is interesting is called Elemental. I believe it's called Elementals by Morgan Llewellyn.
Oh yeah.
And it's 4 short stories where it's the end of one civilization or, you know, way of being, and then the beginning of another. So that's the kind of pattern through line in the stories, but they're all very different.
Yeah, I started that at one point, and I never finished it. I got interrupted, and I need to go back and finish it. I was
Yeah,
about
it's
halfway. And it was good. And I was just swamped at the
Yeah.
time. So, so the key take-home message, in case you haven't gotten it, is now. You need to get busy now in this preparation phase while we still can get ready. And do as much to advance your spiritual progress as you can. It may very well be that some of you, because of your life situation, where you're at in your physical life, in your spiritual progress, that you're going to be one of the workers at the outer circle, at the outer gates, letting people know, hey, there's something in here. And that may be what you can do. And that's still being of incredibly high service for the greater work. Some of you may be slated for bigger things, in the sense that maybe you're going to end up leading a Toltec party. Most people in the Toltec party will have potential to at least be middle circle workers, where you are doing high level work, either as rituals or training or something. And a few of you might go on and get into an inner circle and run your own Toltec party. And the big thing about the highest level of inner circle work is we're mostly working on the higher planes. You're going to find yourself, the longer you do this work, less and less connected to the physical world. By necessity, and in the dreaming and in your meditations, you're going to be working on the higher planes. And that's where this battle can be won. It's not down here. It's up there. With the Kaga, up there is right here. It's up in frequency. Question?
So, when we ascend to the higher planes, how do we get the information back
Oh, how did the information that we have come to us?
from the Toltecs?
Well, not just the Toltecs, though.
Yeah,
It's come through the dreaming.
right.
It's come through prophets. People who are incarnated and have the special ability to keep that connection while they're in the physical. Every great society has had these teachers who come. Mostly they were Atlantean descendants, at least the most recent waves of them. But you go back many tens of thousands of years, and this has been a repeating pattern. Build up to a near golden age, and then a crash and burn, and then build up to a near golden age, and then a crash and burn. The most recent crash and burn was Atlantis, and all its repercussions on all the continents. The time before, some 20 or 30,000 years before that, it was the nuclear war I'm referring to. The one described in the Mahabharata, one of the Indian texts that describes the giant silvery metallic bird flying in the sky that drops an egg which bursts with the light of 10,000 suns and destroys entire cities in the blink of an eye. Bird. Nuclear weapons. When we first set off a nuclear weapon above ground in modern times in New Mexico, when they inspected the ground afterwards, they found a layer of glass 2 to 3 inches where the soil had been melted from the heat and fused into glass. And it had a very peculiar structure because of the material in the soil. It wasn't like pure white silica, which is what you need to make glass for windows. Well, over in India, for some time they had found a big, huge plain that looked like a volcano had erupted and flowed out over it, except there was no evidence that there had ever been any volcanism in this part of India. And this layer of glass-like material is between 2 and 3 feet thick.
Wow.
Okay? And then once they had the New Mexico nuclear sample, they found out that the Indian sample was the same type of material, which implies there was a really huge nuclear detonation there, which is exactly what was described in these ancient texts, which everybody previously wrote off as, they're making it up. That accurate of a description being made up with physical evidence to corroborate it? I don't think so. Just me. Call me crazy. Or call me golden.
That war was the gods were fighting, right?
Well, the war of the gods is a recurring theme. It's archetypal. Okay. Every pantheon has it. And some of those are probably even older than this. But if you read Velikovsky's work, he's talking about the interactions of the planets, being where the war of the gods comes from. But it's just natural forces colliding. And everything else is archetypally linked to that. So, do we have to have nuclear wars? No. But interestingly enough, historically, the people who developed the atomic bomb here in the US, some of them were familiar with these ancient Indian texts. They knew where they were going, and they knew what it could do. And that's why some of them, even though they intended, they recommended we never use it. But we did. Twice in World War II. The first one, despite all the damage it caused, probably saved lives and ended the war faster. The second one was probably unnecessary. It shouldn't have been dropped. Because they were within hours of surrender. But somebody got a wild hair and said, drop it. And it's like the next day they surrendered. So who knows? It was estimated we were going to lose, between the two bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they killed something like 150,000 civilians. All the models for invading the Japanese mainland through a conventional invasion, like we've done on all the other islands, were that we would have lost 1 million people just to get a foothold on both sides, civilian and military. So we probably, saved close to 1 million people. But still, was it really necessary? That'll be debated for years. But you want to know what the zombie apocalypse might look like? Go read the history books of what Japan was like after World War II, what Europe was like after World War II. Just look at the pictures, right? And realize that this is what the whole city looked like, was a pile of rubble. That could happen here. And our job is to do everything we can to make that not happen. This is why this consciousness work is so crucial. This is why I'm telling you now. Get to work now, because we're running out of time. Any other questions online? Any other questions in the room?
Sun related.
Oh, go ahead, if it's unrelated.
Okay, so Maria asked, she says she has a Tree of Life question.
Oh, okay.
She said, I was looking at Sumerian and Assyrian Tree of Life.
Okay.
And it has a ton of circles. I'm wondering if it depicts the Qliphoth too. Have you seen it?
I don't know that, I think I may have, and by a ton, it'd be nice to have a better estimate, because there would be another series kind of right behind it. So it might be displaying the Qliphoth. If you see when you look at the Tarot, right, and you combine the Tarot knowledge with the Tree of Life knowledge, we've got 10 and 22 is 32 on a Tree of Life, but then when you start throwing in each one of the spheres as being 4 worlds, meaning the 4 suits associated with each of the 10 Sephiroth, then you get up to 78. So they could be showing all that. I'd have to see the layout to see how it looks. But look for it to see if there's just like another set of Sephiroth, and sometimes they only show 5 in the Cliffith, meaning the middle 5. Sometimes they'll show all 10. But if the total number is 78, then it's probably just a link into the combination of the Tree of Life with the Tarot. So if you send me the link to a picture, I'll take a look at it. And I hope that helps. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. We're going to stop there. It's a short one tonight. Because that's the message. Oh, I was going to go through Revelations. I don't want to do that. Go read the book of Revelations in the Bible and pay attention to the 7 vials being released by the 7 angels, and look at all the destruction each vial caused. It's a futuristic prophecy written in past tense, so if I sound confusing, wait till you get to the book of Revelations. And this is all being done because the divine has said, you guys are messing up. We're given ample opportunities and ample prophets to say, here's the way you humans are supposed to be living life, and when you mess up, bad things happen. When you obey your mandates to fulfill your true will, good things happen. And it could be wiping out individuals, it could mean wiping out entire cities or regions of people, and it could be a complete reboot for humanity, depending how badly we mess up. Because we are part of God. If we wipe us all out, we just all get withdrawn back in and we start over. We're trying to bring the creative potential down here into the physical. Because here we do things we can't up there. Capiche?
Capiche.
All right, that's it. Oh, no, that's not it. We have announcements.
You want me to do them?
Yeah, why don't you do them? Go put the camera on you, please.
Okay, here I am. I'll try to go through these quickly. You've heard a lot of these before, but this is kind of in order to get us through the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So, if you want more information, email me or us, and I'll give you links up to everything. So there's the 12-week Labyrinth Readers course, and I believe this is gonna, be a potential certification. This is a new manual and a new program that we're working as a beta test site for with EJ's Institute, and they have set a price on the new manual for $125, which was higher than what you might have been quoted in the past. So basically we're going to be doing our first meeting, an introduction meeting on December 8th, and that there's no charge for that. If you decide to go on and do the 12-week course, then by the 16th I'd like to get some kind of deposit, and that would be like $50 or something. And then you can pay for the rest of the manual fee after the first of the year if you'd like to do that. And again, contact me and I can talk to you more about that. So, there is a Kadwa Level 2 course with Sarah Mohadib in Red Bluff next weekend, November 23rd. And you want to contact Sarah if you're interested in that. And we decided your email address, Sarah, is Save the Wombas.
Wombos.
Can you spell it? The whole thing, Save the
Save the WOMBOS.
at hotmail.com.
Right. Save the Wombos because they're important.
And then there's the it's a shamanic day for winter solstice, Friday night and Saturday, December 20th and 21st. That is available to guests. It's $125, and there will be a fireside chat the night before on Friday, and it will be all day on Saturday, including a solstice ceremony. And then we've been invited to EJ's birthday at the Institute on December 28th. That's a Saturday. The invitation is for the afternoon. I'm not sure if there will be other things going on Friday or Saturday morning. So there's a link to that information. If you want to contact me, I can send it to you. Yes.
I just want to add about EJ's birthday is what they ask for is not gifts in terms of stuff. EJ's got more stuff than I do, and that's a lot of stuff. But he has his various personal projects he likes to pursue, and so we like to make a donation to his personal project fund. That's what they've asked that you do. And so we would like to pool our donations to EJ's fund as a school. So I think if each person in the school could come up with $50 to make a pooled donation, that would be a really nice gift. If you could only do 20, then do 20. But if we want to pool all our stuff. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about EJ's birthday. It is a phenomenal time if you're able to get away and come down, because his band plays and the energy is very high. And if you learn how to ride the waves, you're time traveling with him. So it's cool.
And so we'll be going as a school, right?
Yep. That'll be a school activity. It's the week after our other school activity. So, anyway.
So moving on into winter 2020, the Labyrinth Readers course will continue on January 8th through March 8th. And we are looking at scheduling an advanced level 3 class. We don't have a date for that yet. It'll probably be mid February, and I don't know if you want to say anything about that or not yet.
I don't know. What I want to say about it is, we have a number of people kind of either peripherally related to the school or something who haven't done a level 4 yet. And I schedule level 4s based on need. This past year in January, there was need. So we planned it more than a year ago. We started planning that last year. September of 2018 is when I started planning the level 4 class for January. So the next level 4 will be whenever I get a critical mass of people with a need for a level 4.
What about retaking it?
That'll be fine. Where this is tying into this advanced level 3 class is, for those of you who are still at Akadwa level 3, this class needs to be considered as preparation for your level 4. The skills that we will be teaching here will involve things that you need to be doing and adding to your personal practice, in keeping with the kick it up a notch theme that we've had tonight, to get you ready for the level 4. And if anybody who is a level 4 wants to go through it again, yes, talk to me about details, but that's very much recommended. I went, even though I was already a level 4, that an owl?
No, that was my water ball.
Oh, I was like, that was the weirdest sound. Even though I was already level 4, I went through Coyote's level 4 class twice. The first time I picked up some additional skills, and that's actually when my level 5 transition started. And I knew it at the time. I felt something go click, and it's like, oh, I know what he just did to me. And then the second time I went through it was my training for how to conduct a level 4. So I went through it twice. Yeah, absolutely. Those of you who are level 4s are more than welcome to do it again. So think of this advanced level 3, which will probably be in February, as Ori had mentioned. That's, if you're right now level 3, and some of you are, that's what you need to be doing to get ready for the level 4, assuming you want to survive the level 4.
So those of you who don't have your level 3 yet, you can still attend this class
And get your level 3.
and get your level 3. It just won't, normally in a regular level 3 we do the teach program so that you can learn more about what you have and how to share it with others. So this one will have other more advanced techniques that we'll be talking about. So anyway, if you're interested at all in more training or sitting in on classes again, just contact us and let us know if you're interested, especially in a level 3, so that we can kind of put that class together. There will be it's a shamanic day for spring equinox on March 20th and 21st, 2020. And anyone, yes,
Let me talk about Coyote's class.
okay.
This is primarily aimed at those of you who are students in our school or Coyote's. If you're not, you would have to contact Coyote directly to talk to him about participating in this activity. In March of 2020, at the end of March, he's having an intensive. It's a very particular type. It's related to Kriya Yoga, which is the work of intent and manifestation of your higher genius, is the overall description. He has a price he offers to the public. He has a price for his students and a price for our students. And if you want the details, contact us. If you're a student, you've already received an email with this information. So it's 5 days. And if you've never been to a Coyote intensive, all I can tell you is it's intense. Some of you who haven't been to one of Coyote's did come to one of mine. It was the level 4 intensive this past winter, almost a year ago now. And for some of you, that was intense. Coyote's will be at least that, probably more. You know, some of us, I think the 3 of us in this room, went to the intensive this past summer. End of summer, end of August, something like that. And would you describe it as intense?
Yes.
So, it's serious. If you're serious about making the most progress you can, I highly recommend it. So if you're a student in this school, you need to talk to me. You need to tell me, yes, I'm planning on going, and some of you have emailed me to tell me that. In addition to that email, the ones that you who said yes, you need to talk to me, because each of you will have different batches of work you need to do to prepare for that intensive. And it's still 4 months away, which is ample time to get any of you ready for that intensive. And
the level 3 would help with that too.
I was just going to say that. She read my mind. This, whether you're a level 3, a 4, a level 2, whatever, The advanced level 3 that we're having probably in February would be excellent preparation for this intensive of Coyote. He calls it the Powerhouse Intensive. So if he's calling it a Powerhouse Intensive, then you know it's going to be intense.
And the March is the time of the warrior too, so he said.
Every day is
Yeah.
the time of the warrior.
But I mean the whole month. It's
No.
very powerful.
Newsflash, the whole year,
Yeah.
the whole rest of your life is the time of the warrior. That's the reality. Okay. If you've never been to a Coyote Intensive and you want something truly transformational, for those of you who only have my level 4, you all remember how transformational that was. This is at least that much more. Okay? So, if you've emailed me that you're in, great. Now we need to have a talk. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone should get this.
everyone should. Yeah, she's saying everybody should get your Toltec Warrior amulet. That will actually help you in this intensive.
It upgrades you
Yeah.
as you wear it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like the other amulets at all.
No, because it's designed with a very specific intent that's 100% compatible with this path. And it'll help others, but if you're already doing Toltec work, the Toltec Warrior Amulet, for those of you who have them, if you want to write a short testimonial for me, I would be very appreciative of that. I'll get it up on the website. Now are we done? Do we have permission to go offline? Okay. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on tape delay, thank you. Please subscribe to our channel. As long as YouTube lets us participate, we're going to stay here. In our modern fake news era of censorship, who knows how long YouTube will last. Anyway, thank you. Do good. Avoid evil.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.